Good morning. So how's everybody's bread looking today? It hopefully got a nice little rise overnight in the fridge.
Little rise. No, not quite double.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mine is not even close to double, but it's looking pretty good. Remember where mine was yesterday? It was like a little bit below the rim here, so maybe it was like a half inch or something below the rim. Now it's like up about a half inch or so above the rim. So it's looking good though. It's looking nice and puffy. And Jenny's gonna get a secondary camera here, secondary camera angle.
Hey, David.
Or, sorry, does somebody have a question there?
Yeah, sorry, Dave. Just to be clear, the point of the cold bulking, proofing is not to get a rise out of the bread, right? Like our goal is not to like have it double in size or something. It's
Definitely not going to double, right? You do want it to rise, so it should be bigger than it was yesterday. But yeah, don't expect it to double the size thing. The point of it is to proof it and then also give it time to develop more flavors. That's why we do a long rise like that.
I think. We definitely have to rise a bunch. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Does it definitely have to rise a bunch, or like could it be a very small growth?
Mine looks like it's probably about 20% bigger than it was yesterday.
Oh, okay. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah. So now another thing you can do to check to see if you're ready to bake is you want to check if it's proofed, you can poke it. And so I'm just going to poke it here.
Is this at the top?
So at the top of it, and if I poke it, I do that, you see my finger indentation stays there. If it bounced right back, then that means it's underproofed, right? That it needs more time to grow and get airy. If my finger went like straight through and was like super duper fluffy, that probably means it's overproofed and we should have left it go for a little less time. But that looks pretty good. You see the fingerprint is like slowly coming back, not sprinting right back. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So check it out and see what yours looks like.
I've got a huge air bubble on the side, but
Yeah, air bubbles are fine, totally.
Lift it higher, Mikey.
Yeah, I can see that. Yep. Yeah, totally. Air bubbles around the corner, around the edges. Totally.
yeah, I'd say it's about 30% bigger. I think it's looking pretty good. I'd say it's resined too much, and it did bounce back a little, but not too quick.
Sure.
No, it's okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, ready to bake then?
Well, but
All right. If you wanted, like if you decided yours needs more time, I mean, you can just bake it now. Like if it was like a little underproofed, you can still bake it. It's going to come out great. Or you could wait half an hour. But mine looks good. I think a lot of yours look good. Let's do this. So this is a pretty quick, to actually get this thing in the oven is a pretty quick setup, pretty quick turnaround. So I'm just going to demonstrate, and then you guys can do it. Because it needs to get done fast. You don't have to rush. You don't have to like feel stressed or anything like that. But you're just going to make sure that you're not like fooling around in the kitchen and doing other stuff and like whatever, burning yourself and doing things. Because you want to keep the heat high in the Dutch oven. And you also, when we flip this thing out, it's going to slowly start to spread out. We don't want it to like become a big pancake again because we spent all night getting it into this nice shape. So what I'm going to do is take the Dutch oven out of the oven. So I hope everybody's got their Dutch oven preheating at 500 degrees.
With the lid on.
Should be nice and hot. And then I'm going to take that out and put it on the counter here with me. I've got like wire cooling racks. Put a pot holder or something down because it's going to be hot, so you don't want to burn your table or whatever. So just a word of wisdom. So I'm going to put that on the counter. Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to flip it out. I've got a piece of parchment paper. Get a piece of parchment paper down. I'm going to flip it onto the parchment paper. And then I'm going to score it with my I got my razor blade here, razor blade on a stick. You can use a knife, you can hold the razor blade, whatever. And then I'm going to pick it up, put it in the Dutch oven, put the lid on, get it in the oven. That sounds about right?
Yeah. So we'd recommend that everybody just watches because this is just going to be like a 1 or 2 minute thing. So then you can see the flow and then do it yourself after.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is there a reason why you wouldn't want to flip it onto the parchment, score it, and then pull your Dutch oven out and drop it in?
No, that's fine. You could do it in that order too. This is just what kind of works for me. Just make sure I'm doing everything. 'Cause it's important to just have a rhythm, you know. that you're not like running around the kitchen and be like, what do I got to do next? I got to like get a Dutch oven or something. So
We've also found that once it gets flipped out of the bowl and it starts oozing out, it feels a little stressful to like, because you have this nice circle and then you put it on the thing and then it's like going and going and going. That for us, I felt like it's always like we want to minimize the amount of time that it's sitting there so that, just get it in the oven.
yeah, totally.
Hey, David, I have a question. So we don't have parchment paper. We typically just use flour right directly into the Dutch oven.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's fine. It may, I don't know, have you had any problems with the raw flour burning?
Not really.
No.
I mean, it sometimes it gets a little brown and burned, but not really.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine then. I mean, yeah, do what works. You could also use like cornmeal or something. Again, I don't know what the burning point of cornmeal is, but that would probably work fine because a lot of times when you get a bread from a bakery, it's got cornmeal on the bottom. So, and yeah, anything just to like give it a little bit of I don't know, something to prevent it from sticking.
Yeah, that was my question. I was wondering if there was some other alternative. So thank you, cornmeal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think those should be fine. I like this. I like the parchment paper because when it's on there, I can pick up the parchment paper and then place it in. So that works for me instead of trying to take some like dump it in, But whatever you do, make sure that you don't burn yourself because it's gonna be really hot.
If they're using flour or cornmeal or something, should they put it on top of the bread while it's in the basket and then flip it out, or should they put it in the vessel?
What is Christian and Mike? What do you guys do?
We put a little bit on while it was still in the basket, we put a little bit on there, but then we just make sure we get the bottom of the vessel too.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds sensible to me. All right, let's make this happen.
All right.
All right, so I'm gonna grab the oven out of the oven.
Am I going to be on camera duty or
Sure, yeah,
support?
yeah.
Okay. If it goes south, I'll do the support.
All right, got my Dutch ovens nice and hot. So now I'm just going to put these somewhere where I can reach them. I'm gonna get this guy. Let's see, I should flour that. I'm gonna put a little flour on the bottom. I'm gonna be like Christian and Mike. I sprinkle a little on there. All right. Put this guy out. Boom. There you go. That looks good, doesn't it? Man, that's a good looking bread. All right. So it's on there. You can see I got a little bit of marks from my proofing basket. I'm going to take my razor. I'm going to make kind of a classic simple cut. You can make any shape you want, squares, circles, whatever. I'm going to do like a nice, and get in there like 1/2 inch to 1 inch. I'm going to make a nice big long cut around there. When I make a cut like that, it's going to allow the steam to, it's going to allow the bread to rise where I want it to rise instead of like busting out the side. So I got a big cut right there. I'm going to get a little fancy and make a little decoration here. I'm just going to make a bunch of slashes. You don't have to do this, but you can. You can get more fancy if you want. Your bread. Your bread, your rules. All right, cool. So I got a big slice on here. I got a bunch of little slices there. Totally optional. I'm gonna pick this guy up. Goes in the Dutch oven. It's all nestled in there nice. Pan, the top goes on the pan. And then that's in the oven. I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes. And I'm gonna reduce the heat to 475, I believe. All right.
David,
So,
why do you do the scoring besides making a beautiful design?
well, it's mostly to make a beautiful design, but the point is that if you don't score it, if you leave that totally smooth on the top, then the bread is, when it rises, it's probably going to expand out of the weakest point in the bread. And the weakest point in the bread could be anywhere on there. It could be on the sides, could be wherever. So you made it with a bread that was like circle on top and then just busts out the side. So by making a nice cut like that, you control where it rises and where it releases that pressure, and it looks really pretty.
It just don't.
Cool. All right. Is everybody ready to do this?
Hey, David, for people who don't have Dutch oven, can you also mention when they should throw the ice into the pans?
Yeah. So so if you don't have the Dutch oven, you probably have, you got a pizza stone? Is that what you're doing?
I'm doing the steam bath.
Steam bath, yeah. So you put it. So you're gonna put it on like a pizza stone or whatever, a pan, right? And then I would say as soon as you put that bread in the oven, put your ice or your water in the other pan. Obviously, you don't want ice and water in the pan with your bread. So yeah, as soon as you go to close that door, get your ice and stuff in there because it's that first few minutes that's going to give you the oven spring.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Any other questions?
I think I dashed away when you did that scoring. Did you go semicircle around it?
Yeah,
But no
yeah, I did a semicircle around, and that's going to give you like a pretty classic look to it. But like I said, you can make a square, you can make slashes, diagonals, you can make a sunflower. I don't care, whatever you want.
Maybe I would recommend not getting too intricate on your first try, but
Yeah. Okay, I'll try the semicircle.
and that was about a ½ inch deep.
Yeah, you want like a ½ inch to an inch deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I expect yours to look like the Mona Lisa. That's what I'm thinking.
Hey,
No.
Dave, what's the size of that proofing basket that you use?
The size of the proofing basket? Let's see. You want to get that measuring thing here? Jenny's going to get the measuring thing. Let's find out.
And I was curious, if you were to make a double batch of this,
Yeah.
is there a recommended way to stop the process for the second loaf? Like if your oven's not like, if I only have one proofing basket and perhaps I don't have anything else that's really suitable, how can I store that dough in a way that, or what stage should I store that dough at to prevent any sort of?
Yeah. Good question. Well, let's get everybody's in the oven and stuff like that, and then we can go to some more like how to double the recipe and stuff. That's
Okay.
All right. All right. Is everybody getting started here? Do you need a countdown or anything?
My oven's still preheating, so I'm waiting.
All right. Cool.
I'm gonna let mine rise a little bit longer.
Okay. Cool. I see some people turning out dough over there. That's good. So yeah, make sure turn it out.
Maybe you're making the face.
Just drop it in. It's really pretty simple.
Maybe you're making the face. Yours makes it.
There we go. I made a face.
Mm.
You're gonna let it go for 20 minutes with the cover on, and then we're gonna take the cover off. So when we take that cover off, that's gonna allow the crust to get that nice brown color. If you leave the cover on, it's gonna just stay pale the whole time. Is that Alice's? That looks good. Yeah, good job, Alice. That's looking good.
Is it okay that the parchment paper is like wrinkly?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that's what mine looks like. Alice sent me a picture of hers, and mine has got this similar situation. I think there's no real way around that, right?
But the bread will overcome the wrinkles.
We'll find out. You'll probably have some combination of that where the bread's gonna push back the wrinkles because the bread's gonna be a lot stronger than that. Although you may end up with some grooves in the side too. I don't know. I think there's not really a whole lot you can do. I mean, mine looks like that as well.
Maybe hers spread out.
Also, just a reminder, wherever you put your Dutch oven down, that part of the counter is now also hot. And leaning against it would not be a smart idea.
Yeah, don't lean on that.
As I just discovered.
We have a burn.
I missed what you said about taking the cover off.
Yeah, so once you get that guy in the oven, one thing I didn't mention, and I forgot I should, reduce the heat to 450. So we're just preheating at 500, then we're gonna reduce the heat to 450.
Yeah.
Put on a timer for 20 minutes. And at 20 minutes, we're gonna take the cover off. And by doing that, cooking it with the cover off, it's gonna make a nice dark brown, crispy crust.
Cool.
Yeah.
Along.
You said 450 or 475?
I actually said both because I was wrong. So 450 is what I would recommend. 450 is what is in the Tartine Bread Bible.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure I've cooked it at both and it works out fine. So 450.
So right now it should be at 450.
That's right.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah.
how do you clean this guy after you're done?
Oh yeah. So this proofing basket. So first, so I mean, this is just like a cloth. So you can I'm gonna take this and just shake it out, and that's probably all I'll do. Because it's
Okay.
dry. If it seems wet or anything, like I don't know, wash it, wait for it to dry, I'm not too crazy.
What
about
is
it.
yours lined with, Lucy? Is it a basket?
It's the exact, I think it's the exact same thing that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just cloth. You can wash it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Not any reason you can't put a little laundry, right?
Yeah, totally. If
Okay,
you
cool.
one like this and you didn't use a cloth, you can you should wait for it to dry and then just kind of scrape the flour out. Yeah, you can't really wash these things too well, but if it's just dry flour in there, that's fine. Cool. All right. So back to, I think Josh had a question about how big this. So my basket is, looks like that's 8.5 inches in diameter by 3 inches deep, about that much, 3 1/4 deep. And what I would do, so if I made two loaves and I didn't have you need a way to proof them separately. I think that's the important part. So I don't know, you get creative. You can use a Pyrex dish, a Tupperware, anything. You could try, I haven't tried it, but you could try a loaf pan and then you'll just make like a rectangular or an oval shaped loaf, that's totally fine. But I think that if you're gonna double the recipe, you're gonna have to find a way to proof them separately. And if you're really dedicated to that, I mean, like these proofing baskets aren't that expensive and Tupperware is not that expensive. So I don't know, just get more, the more the merrier.
So David, we're doing a double batch. So we have to have 2 baskets. And there's a whole process in terms of pre-shaping the dough that's complicated because you have to cut the mix in half too. So it's highly recommended because while you're waiting for the first one to cool, you can get the other one going, and then you get to eat the first one and save the second one. So it's really nice to double the batches.
Makes sense. Totally. Thanks. Yeah. And so if you do make a big first batch, like Christian said, when you bulk ferment, you're gonna have a lot of dough and you're gonna have to cut that in half. And that's where the pre-shaping and stuff is going to be important, just to make sure that you can get that into a round shape. So cool.
Eric, we haven't heard from you at all. You got your finger in the oven or what? You're muted, so we can't.
Yes, it's in the oven.
How's it looking?
Well, my kitchen's full of smoke.
Oh God.
I was wondering, you used your Dutch oven that you use when you're camping, right?
Yeah. So it I got that campfire smell when it was preheating.
That's kind of what I expected might happen. Yeah, you got ash and stuff all over it, I'm sure.
Yeah. My dough was pretty runny. Like I dumped it out, and
Yeah, I mean, mine did that kind of slowly. Hopefully it wasn't too fast. If it's, if you notice that, then maybe next time give it a couple extra stretch and folds. Maybe it just needs to strengthen up a little bit.
Not right now, but
next time you bake.
The next time when you're prepping it more.
So you can just use that. And it's such a good thing. I hope that you guys all observed your bread yesterday while we're making it and while you're stretching and folding it. Just look for the signs of fermentation. Look for the things that you think you want to see. And then this morning we took it out of the fridge. We talked about how to see if it's proofed or not. And so hopefully you can use those clues to guide you on your next bake.
And maybe your bread will have a nice smoky taste. I think that actually.
I mean, it might be good. Yeah. Totally. It'd be like a wood fire oven or something.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good question. Should we be using convection bake or regular bake on our oven?
If you've got it in a Dutch oven, then it doesn't matter because it's inside of an oven. So the convection, which circulates the air, isn't going to have any effect on it. So regular. Cool. All right. Speaking of next bake, Jenny, I believe, has tabulated the results.
I have.
Ran the analysis, double counted the hanging chads, and are you ready to hear what people want?
All right. In first place, the top voted item was bagels.
The people want the bagels.
The people want the bagels.
A lot.
10 people voted, though some people didn't vote all 5 votes, and I think some people voted more than 5, but whatever. 8 people voted for bagels. So I'm going to just tell you the things that won. I'm not sure what order we'll do them in. We haven't really discussed that. Maybe we'll do bagels next week. You'll get an email, I guess. But the top, we had a tie for 4th place. So the items on the list are bagels, pretzels, hamburger buns. Oh, no, wait. Yeah. So bagels, pretzels.
And then a tie.
Hot cross buns, sourdough hot cross buns, and then a tie with croissants, hamburger buns, and baguettes. So
Yeah, Jenny is a official City of Boston election poll worker, so we can be sure that these have been tabulated correctly. Yeah. So I don't know. So maybe next weekend we'll do bagels, and then we could switch to something sweet after that and try to do the hot cross
The
buns.
weather looks really bad next weekend, so
Bad weather is great baking weather.
good for baking.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't stay that way, but if it does, we'll be in the kitchen baking away. Cool. Does anybody have any other questions?
If we have family who's interested in joining next week, are you open to more people coming? A good way to send it out?
Yeah, totally. For certain, feel free to invite people. I'm really happy with like that everybody's having a good time, and I'm dragging more people into this crazy adventure. Yeah, if people are interested, make sure you get them some starter, or they can make their own whatever. I believe, Kevin, I sent you the kind of video where we originally talked like just all things starter about how to make it, how to feed it, how to bake with it, all sorts of stuff. So you can forward that onto them too. Be good to have a little background. I don't know what their level is of knowledge.
Yeah, or for anybody who's inviting other people to join, to just send them sort of the initial stuff so that they're kind of caught up a little bit with
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. This was really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope that it breaks the bone.
Yeah,
which is actually
you might change your mind in an hour.
Yeah,
well,
no, we made some popovers last night, and no matter how this bread turns out, it was totally worth it.
That's a keeper. Nice. Yeah, so actually we got, this is going to be ready. This is going to be coming out of the oven in like a half an hour. Here's what I'm thinking is you shouldn't really eat the bread straight out of the oven as much as you want to. Technically, you're supposed to wait for it to cool completely, which sounds like madness to me. But because if you take a really hot loaf of bread out of the oven, you cut it open, all the steam's gonna come out, and then it's gonna go stale like pretty quick. So not like stale right away, but it'll only last a day or something. So what I'm thinking is we'll take it out of the oven, we take it out, let it cool on a cooling rack, and enjoy the pleasant aromas. Try not to rip into it immediately, and then maybe we can come back here at, I don't know, maybe I'll cut into my bread at noon. Does that sound good to you?
Sure.
Yeah, so it'll cool for like an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So a review.
Should we do less than? Should we do 11:30? What do you think?
Well, it's going to be in the oven for another 27 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it needs to cool for an
Right,
hour.
like a half hour to an hour. Okay, let's say noon. So noon, high noon on the Zoom ranch. I'll be back here cutting into my bread and enjoying it. If you guys feel like coming in here and showing off your bakes, which I hope you do, then sign back in at noon.
Yeah. And if you don't, just a quick review before we all leave. Your bread right now should be in the oven at 450 for 20 minutes. And then after those 20 minutes, you're taking the cover off and leaving it for another 20 minutes. And then taking it out and letting it cool. After you cut into it, what's the storage situation? What do I do with my bread after I eat it?
Yeah, so here's what I recommend doing is just eating the entire thing at once. If you don't want to do that though, then cut it in half down the middle, which sounds crazy, but cut it in half down the middle and actually cut slices out of the middle, because then you can take the two halves, jam them back together, and that crust will still protect the insides. So the insides won't dry out. So that's my number one suggestion. This bread will stay at on your counter or whatever. You can cover it with, cloth or put it in a bag or whatever you want. It can stay out for 3 days without going stale, which is a nice thing about sourdough compared to other homemade breads that you make, because it has a high hydration. So it'll stay out for 2-3 days. If you want to freeze it, that's totally cool. I do that all the time. I recommend just slicing it before you put it in the freezer, then throw it in the freezer in a bag, and then whenever you want toast, you take it out and pop in the toaster, and it will be good. Anybody got storage questions? Yeah, Alan.
One question. So if I have put the steam bath, should I leave that in there for the next 20-minute batch or take it out?
Yeah, so actually probably in 20 minutes, all of that water is going to be evaporated anyway. So it probably won't be a big issue. But what you can do in 20 minutes is just open it, see if any steam comes out. If it does, let it come out, and then close it back up. And that's it. But I imagine that all of it will be evaporated by then.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. I'll see you all at high noon. Thank you for coming. Hope you had a great morning.
Thank you.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Thank you.